Okay, Wildcats, today we're going to 8.1 Inverse Variation Assignment Tutorial. Question 1 of 16. Enter an equation relating to variables and use it to answer the question. Given that y varies inversely as x and y equals 4 when x equals 7, what is the value of y when x equals 14? Step 1. Write an equation relating x and y by finding the constant of variation a. So we know that x equals 7, y equals 4, so our equation is 4 equals a divided by 7. Okay, now we're going to solve for a. So we cross multiply. So 1 times a is a. 7 times 4 is 28. Okay, so now we have a equals 28. Now we're going to find the value of y when x equals 14. So we know that our equation is y equals 28 divided by x. So now we're looking for y, and we have x is 14. So y equals 28 divided by 14, which is equal to 2. So y equals 2. Okay, go ahead and finish up question number 1. All right, let's take a look at the next question. All right, question 2 of 16. Enter an equation relating to variables and use it to answer the question. Given that y varies inversely as x, and y equals 10 when x equals 6, what is the value of x when y equals 4? Step 1, write an equation relating x and y by finding the constant of variation a. Okay, so we know y is 10, so 10 equals a divided by 6. We cross multiply, so 1 times a is a, and then 10 times 6 is 60. Okay, so a equals 60. So our equation is y equals 60 divided by x. Okay, step 3, find the value of x when y equals 4. So we plug in 4 into here, so 4 equals 60 divided by x. We cross multiply, so 4 times x is 4x. 1 times 60 is 60. Divide both sides by 4. So 60 divided by 4 is 15. Okay, go ahead and finish up question 2. All right, let's take a look at question 3. Okay. Enter an equation relating to variables and use it to answer the question. The time t in hours that it takes a pump to empty a tank of water varies inversely with the pumping rate R in gallons per hour. If it takes 5 hours to empty a tank of water when the pumping rate is 80 gallons per hour, how long does it take to empty the tank when the pumping rate is 100 gallons per hour? All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change the lowercase t in this problem to a capital T, and I'm going to change the lowercase r to a capital R to make it easier to understand my work, okay? All right, write an equation relating r and t by finding the constant of variation a. So our equation is t equals a divided by r, okay? Step 2, substitute t equals 5 and r equals 80 into this equation. So 5 equals a divided by 80. Okay, we're going to solve for a. So 1 times a is a equals 5 times 80. Okay, so 5 times 80 is, we can just use a basic calculator here. 5 times 80 is 400. So A equals 400. Okay, let's move on to the next step. Okay, step 4. Find the value of t when r equals 100 and a equals 400. Okay, now we know our equation is t equals a divided by r. Now we just found out that a equals 400, and now we're being told that r equals 100. Okay, and if you've forgotten, we can go back to the previous page. But there's our equation, t equals a divided by r, and now we have a equals 400. Okay, all right. So now let's plug this in. So t equals a, which is 400. R is 100. Well, 400 divided by 100 is 4. So t equals 4. Okay? So we can say, so it takes 4 hours to empty the tank when the pumping rate is 100 gallons per hour. Okay? Let's take a look at the next question. Question number 4. Okay? Enter an equation relating to variables and use it to answer the question. The number of presents P that Tim can afford to buy varies inversely with their average cost C in dollars. If Tim can afford 5 presents when their average cost is $18, what average cost would 6 presents have? Now, again, I'm going to rewrite P and C as capital letters so it's easier to understand my work. Okay. Now, step 1. Write an equation relating C and P by finding the constant of variation A. Well, the equation is P equals A divided by C. Step 2, substitute P equals 5 and C equals 18 into P equals A divided by C. So that's 5 equals A divided by C, which is 18. Okay. Step 3, we're going to solve for A. So we're going to divide that by 1. 1 times A is A. 5 times 18. And we can just use a basic calculator for 5 times 18. Is 90. So A equals 90. Okay. All right. Step 4. Find the value of C when P equals 6 and A equals 90. Okay. Let's go back and make sure we have the equation. So the equation is P equals A divided by C and A equals 90. So P equals A divided by C, and we know that A equals 90, and in this case we're told that P equals 6. Okay, so let's plug these numbers in. So that 6 equals 90 divided by C, okay, divided by 1, cross multiply. So 6 times C is 6C, and 1 times 90 is 1 times 90. So 6C equals 90. Divide both sides by 6. So now let's use our calculator. So 90 divided by 6 is 15. So C equals 15. Okay, so 6 presents would have an average cost of $15. right, let's take a look at the next question. All right, question 5. Okay, enter an equation relating to variables and use it to answer the question. A club rents a bus for a trip. The cost C in dollars that each person pays to cover the cost of the bus varies inversely with the number of people P who go on the trip. It'll cost $50 per person if 70 people go on the trip. How much will it cost per person if 40 people go on the trip? Okay, step 1, write an equation relating P and C by finding the constant variation A. So the equation is C equals A divided by P. Now we're going to substitute 50 and 70 into the equation. So that's 50 equals A divided by 70. Okay, so now next step is we're going to solve for A. So we cross multiply. 1 times A is A, and then we have 50 times 70. So we can do that in the calculator. 50 times 70 equals 3,500. So A equals 3,500. Okay? All right, let's look at the next step. All right, so our equation is C equals A divided by P, and A we know is 3,500. Now it says find the value of C when P equals 40 and A equals 3,500. Okay, so we have the A equals 3,500, and we now know P equals 40. So we're going to plug these numbers into here. So that's C equals 3,500 divided by 40. Okay, so let's use our calculator. So 3,500 divided, let's clear that. 3,500 divided by 40 is 87.5. Okay, so it'll cost $87.50 per person if 40 people go on the trip. Oh, I almost forgot the money symbol. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, question 6. Okay, enter an equation relating to variables and use it to answer the question. For a fundraiser, members of the Booster Club wash cars by hand. The time T in minutes it takes to wash a car varies inversely as the number of people P who are washing the car. If 4 people can wash a car in 30 minutes, how many people would be needed to wash a car in 24 minutes? Okay, step 1. Write an equation relating P and T, but find the constant variation A. So the equation is T equals A divided by P. Now we're going to substitute T equals 30 and P equals 4 into this equation. So that's 30 equals A divided by P, which is 4. Okay, for the next step, we're going to solve for A. So we cross multiply. 1 times A is A equals 4 times 30. And 4 times 30 is 120, so A equals 120. Okay, all right, let's go to the next step. Okay. Find the value of P when T equals 24 and A equals 20. Now, if you've forgotten, you can go back to this page and make sure you have the right equation, which is T equals A divided by P. So we know that T equals A divided by P. Now we know that T equals 24 and A equals 120. Okay, so we're going to plug those numbers in. Okay, so that's 24 equals 120 divided by P. So we cross multiply, so 24 times P is 24P equals 120. We're going to divide both sides by 24. So P equals 120 divided by 24 is 5. So P equals 5. Okay. So 5 people are needed to wash a car in 24 minutes. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, question 7. Okay, enter an equation relating the variables and use it to answer the question. The frequency F in hertz of a vibrating guitar string varies inversely as the length L in centimeters. If a guitar string 80 centimeters long vibrates with a frequency of 160 hertz, at what frequency will the guitar string vibrate when the guitarist reduces the string length to 32 centimeters? Okay, step 1, write an equation relating L and F by finding the constant variation A. Okay, so F equals A divided by L. So now we're going to substitute 160 for F and 80 for L into this equation. So that's 160 equals A divided by 80. Now we're going to solve for A. So we cross multiply. So 1 times A is A equals 160 times 80. Okay, so let's use our calculator. So 160 times 80 equals 12,080. So A equals 12,800. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next step. Okay. Find the value of F when L equals 32. So first things first, we want to double check to make sure we have the right equation, which come back to here. So F equals A divided by L. Okay. And so now we know that L equals 32 and A equals 12,800. Okay, we're going to substitute these numbers in. So that's F equals 12,800 divided by 32. Okay, so let's use our calculator. Equals 400. So F equals 400. So the string vibrates with a frequency of 400 hertz when the string length is 32 centimeters. Let's move on to the next question. All right. Question 8. Enter an equation relating to variables and use it to answer the question. When a lever is placed on a fulcrum and a force is applied at each end, the lever will be in balance as long as the magnitude m in pounds of each force and the distance d in feet of each force from the fulcrum satisfy an inverse variation relationship. If a force of 50 pounds is applied to one end of a lever at a distance of 2 feet from the fulcrum, what force must be applied to the other end, which is 10 feet from the fulcrum, to bring the lever into balance? Okay, write an equation relating d and m by finding the constant variation a. So the equation is m equals a divided by d. Substitute m equals 50 and d equals 2 into m equals a divided by d. Okay, so let's do that. So m is 50, so 50 equals a divided by d, which is 2. Divided by 1, cross multiply. 1 times a is a, and that's 2 times 50. Well, 2 times 50 is easy. That's A equals 100. Okay. All right, let's go into the next step. All right, first, before we do anything else, let's write the equation from the previous page. So m equals A divided by D. Now it says find the value of m when D equals 10 and A equals 100. Okay, so that's pretty simple. We have D equals 10, A equals 100. So we plug those in. So m equals 100 divided by 10, which is 10. Okay, so a force of 10 pounds applied at a distance of 10 feet from the fulcrum counterbalances the force of 50 pounds applied at a distance of 2 feet from the fulcrum. Let's take a look at the next example. Okay, question 9 of 16. Determine whether the two variables vary inversely or directly, then enter an equation and use it to answer the question. Given the table of data, what is y when x equals? All right, so you have your table. Okay, now complete the table below to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so real simple, we have to do x times y. So 1 times 90 is 90. 9 times 10 is 90. And 12 times 7.5, that's pretty simple. It should be 90, but let's check. 12 times 7.5 is 90. Okay. All right, so now we need to do y divided by x. So that's 90 divided by 1, which equals 90. That's 10 divided by 9, which equals 10 divided by 9. Let's just say 1.1. Okay, then we do 7.5 divided by 12, which let's just call that 0.6. Okay, now because the product x and y are constant, y varies inversely as x. Write the inverse equation y equals a divided by x when a equals 90. And we got the a value because that's the constant value. Okay, so our equation then is y equals 90 divided by x. Now step 4, solve for y when x equals 15 and a equals 90. So we're going to plug in 15 for x and we already have a in for 90. So y equals 90 divided by 15. So we can use our calculator. Equals 6. So y equals 6. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, question 10. Determine whether the two variables vary inversely or directly, then enter an equation and use it to answer the question. Given the table of data, what is y when x equals 10? So you have your table. Now it says complete the table below to the nearest 100. Okay, so we do x times y. Well, 2 times 70 is 140. Okay, now we can use our calculator. 7 times 245 is 1,000 715. And then we can do 8 times 280. And let me make sure I typed that down right. 8 times 280 is 2,240. Okay. Now we're going to do y divided by x. So that's 70 divided by 2 equals 35. Now we're going to do 245 divided by 7. So 245 divided by 7 is 35. And then we're going to do 280 divided by 8. So 280 divided by 8 equals 35. Okay? So because the product y divided by x are constant, y varies directly as x. Write the direct equation y equals a times x when a equals 35. So our equation is y equals 35x. Okay? Now solve for y when x equals 10. Well, real simple. We have our a value, we have our x. So y equals 35 times 10, which equals 350. Okay? Let's move on to the next question. Okay? Question 11. Determine whether the two variables vary inversely or directly. Then enter an equation and use it to answer the question. The table gives the amount of gas in gallons used when driving a car various distances in miles on highways. What amount of gas is used when driving 448 miles on highways? All right, so we have our table. Now we can complete our table. Okay, so we do D times G. Okay, so let me pull up a calculator. So that's 128 times 4 is 512. Okay, 160 times 5 is 800. Okay, 256 times 8 is 2,048. Now we're going to do G divided by D. Okay, so 4 divided by 128 is 0.03125. Okay. Now, that worries me with the decimal, and it might make it difficult to answer the question using that. So, let's see if we can use our Inspire, and we see what the fraction is for that, okay? It's not wrong. That's not a wrong number, but let's see if we can get the fraction. Okay, so we're going to go to on, new document. Try again. On, or there you go, just do calculate. So we're going to do 4 divided by 128. We're going to do 5 divided by 160. And we're going to do 8 divided by 256. So you can see we have 1 divided by 32. Okay, so this is now 1 divided by 32. This is 1 divided by 32. And this is 1 divided by 32. Which the fraction is going to be a lot easier to work with when we talk about solving the problem, okay? Because the ratios G divided by D are constant, G varies directly in D. So write the equation G equals A times D when A equals 1 divided by 32. So G equals 1 divided by 32 times D. Okay. Step 4. Solve for G when D equals 448 and A equals 1 divided by 32. So G equals 1 divided by 32 times 448. Okay, so let's do that using our Inspire. So I can actually press Control Divide, and I'll get the fraction. 1 divided by 32 times 448 is 14. Okay, so G equals 14. So 14 gallons of gas are used when driving 448 miles on highways. All right, go ahead and finish up that question. All right, let's take a look at the next question. Okay, determine whether two variables vary inversely or directly, then enter an equation and use it to answer the question. The table gives the total working time in hours that it takes a crew of painters to paint a house. How much time does it take 6 painters to paint the house? Okay, so we have our table. Now we're going to complete our table. So we're going to do P times T. Well, 2 times 33 is 66. 3 times 22 is 66. So now we can do 5 times 13.2, which is 66. Okay. Now we need to do 33 divided by 2. Okay, so we're going to do 33 divided by 2. We're going to do 22 divided by 3. And then 13.2 divided by 5. Now, the problem here is we have fractions, so what I need to do is go back here, and I'm going to put in 33 divided by 2 and press Control Enter. Press Enter first. Now press Control Enter, and I get 16.5. Now I'm going to do 22 divided by 3, and what I'm going to do is press Control Enter, and that's 7.3, and then 13.2 divided by 5, press Control Enter, and I get 2.6. All right. So because the products P times T are constant, T varies inversely as P. All right. Write the inverse equation T equals A divided by P when A equals 66. So that's T equals 66 divided by P. Now it says solve for T when P equals 6 and A equals 66. So it says solve for C. So T equals 66 divided by P is 6, so that's 6. Well, 66 divided by 6 is 11. So 6 painters can paint the house in 11 hours. All right, go ahead and finish up question 12. All right. Question 13. Determine whether two variables vary inversely or directly. Then enter an equation and use it to answer the questions. The table gives the speed of a bicycle in miles per hour. When a cyclist pedals at various rates in revolutions per minute, with the bicycle at a particular gear, what is the bicyclist's speed when the cyclist pedals at a rate of 44 revolutions per minute? Okay, so here's our table. Now let's complete our table. All right, so we're going to multiply R times S. Well, 20 times 5 is 100. Okay, 40 times 10 is 400. We can just use a basic calculator for 60 times 15. 60 times 15 equals 900. Okay, now we probably want to use the Inspire to do S divided by R. So let's do that. So we have 5 divided by 20, which is 1 divided by 4. Okay, 10 divided by 40 is 1 divided by 4. And then 15 divided by 60 is 1 divided by 4. Okay. Because the ratios S divided by R are constant, S varies directly as R. Write the direct equation S equals A times R when A equals 1/4. So S equals 1/4 times R. Solve for S when R equals 44 and A equals 1/4. So S equals 1/4 times 44, which equals 11. So the bicycle's speed is 11 miles per hour. All right, go ahead and finish up question 13. All right. Determine whether the two variables vary inversely or directly. Then enter an equation and use it to answer the question. The table gives the number of laptops sold in a month when the store sells a particular model of laptop at various prices in dollars. How many laptops will be sold in a month when the store sells the laptops for $500 each? Okay, so we have our table. Now we're going to complete our table. So we need to multiply P times L. Okay, so let's do that now. So 800 times 80 is 64,000. Okay, 1280 times 50 is 64,000. And then 2,560 times 25 is 64,000. Okay. All right, so we have that. Now we need to do L divided by P. Okay, so let's use our Inspire. So 80 divided by 800 is 1 divided by 10. Okay, 50 divided by 1280 is 5 divided by 128. And then 25 divided by 2,560 is 5 divided by 5/12. Okay? Because the products P times L are constant, L varies inversely as P. Write the inverse equation L equals A divided by P when A equals 64,000. So L equals 64,000 divided by P. Solve for L when P equals 500 and A equals 64,000. Okay, so L equals 64,000 divided by P, which is 500. So let's use our calculator for that. So 64,000 divided by 500 is 128. Okay, so 128 laptops would be sold in a month. All right, let's look at the next question. Okay. All right. Determine whether the two variables vary inversely or directly. Then enter an equation and use it to answer the question. The table gives the amount of water in gallons coming out of a garden hose for various amounts of time in minutes. How much water comes out of the garden hose in 20 minutes? So here's a table that we're given. Now let's complete our table. So 5 times 60 is 300. And this would be a good time to use the Inspire. So pretty sure that's correct, but we'll just do it in the calculator again. So that's 300. 9 times 108 is 972. And then 16 times 192 is 3072. Okay. Now let's do W divided by T. Okay, so 60 divided by 5 is 12. 108 divided by 9 is 12. And 192 divided by 16 is 12. Okay? So because the ratios W divided by T are constant, W varies directly as T. Write the direct equation W equals AT. So W equals 12T. Solve for W when T equals 20 and A equals 12. So W equals 12 times 20, and that's just a basic calculator. So 12 times 20 is 240. So 240 gallons of water come out of the hose in 20 minutes. Okay, go ahead and finish up that question. All right, last question, 16. Determine whether each of the following situations represents direct variation or inverse variation. Select the correct answer for each selected part. When traveling a fixed distance, the travel time is a function of average speed. That is inverse variation. For items that are priced the same, the total cost is a function of number of items purchased. That's direct variation. When traveling at a fixed speed, the distance traveled is a function of time traveled, and that's direct variation. For a fixed amount of money, the number of identical items that can be purchased is a function of the cost per item. That is inverse variation. All right, go and finish up question 16 and finish up your 8.1 assignment and have a wonderful Wildcat day.